The Three Men and the Sealed Cave. Long ago, three travelers were journeying through the land when a sudden storm forced them to seek shelter. They found refuge in a dark, hidden cave within a mountain. Grateful for the shelter, they rested inside, until disaster struck. A massive boulder from the mountain came crashing down, sealing the cave entrance shut. Panic filled their hearts. No matter how hard they pushed, the rock would not budge. One of them said, "Nothing can save us now except sincere prayers to Allah through the good deeds we have done." The first man, devotion to parents. The first man stepped forward and said, "O Allah, I had elderly parents whom I loved dearly. Every night, I would bring them milk before anyone else in my household. One evening, I arrived late and found them asleep. I could not bear to wake them, nor could I give their share to my children, who were crying in hunger at my feet. So I waited, standing by their bedside, holding the milk until dawn, only to serve them first. If I did this sincerely for your sake, then relieve us from this calamity." At that moment, the boulder shifted slightly, but the opening was still too small to escape. The second man, resisting temptation. The second man stepped forward, his voice shaking as he recalled his story. "O Allah, I once loved a woman with all my heart. I pursued her, but she always refused me. Then, during a terrible famine, she came to me in desperation. I offered her a great sum of money in exchange for what I had always wanted. She hesitated but eventually agreed. But when I was just about to fulfill my desire, she whispered, 'Fear Allah and do not break this sacred trust except by right.' At that moment, I was overwhelmed with fear of you, and I walked away, leaving her the money. If I did this only for your sake, then grant us relief." Once again, the boulder shifted further, but not enough for them to escape. The third man, honesty and trustworthiness. The third man took a deep breath and said, "O Allah, I once hired a worker and agreed to pay him a wage. But before he could collect his earnings, he left without a word. Instead of keeping his wage, I invested it for him. Over time, his money grew into a fortune, flocks of livestock and fields of crops. Years later, he returned and asked for his wages. I told him, 'Everything you see, these animals, these lands, is yours.' He looked at me in disbelief and said, 'Do not mock me.' But I assured him that it was all truly his. He took everything and left. O Allah, if I did this purely for your sake, then free us from this trap." At that moment, the boulder moved completely, revealing the way out. The three men, filled with gratitude, stepped out into the fresh air, knowing that their sincerity, their devotion, and their righteous deeds had saved them. Moral of the story. Sincere good deeds can become a source of deliverance in times of hardship. Devotion to parents, resisting temptation, and honesty are virtues that bring divine blessings. When in difficulty, remember your good deeds and turn to Allah with sincerity. This story reminds us that true faith and good actions never go unnoticed.